City Clerk ready to go? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to our September 10th regularly scheduled Watsonville City Council. But first, before our regular scheduled City Council, we're going to have a short joint council successor agency to the former redevelopment agency. And if you don't have a program, an agenda, there are some out there in the hallway, and you're certainly welcome to get up and get one. Let me announce for anyone needing translation. Buenas tardes, buenas noches. Para usar los aparatos de interpretación en español, obtengo un aparato de mesa junta de la casa interpretación. Préndalo y use el canal 0, cuágaselo en el cuello con el frente hacia fuera. Si no puede oír, revise que el aparato está encendido sin obstrucciones. Solo funciona dentro en la cámara del concilio. Regrésalo antes de partir. Discúlpeme, no habla bien español. And I'm not getting any better at that, am I? No, sorry. More practice, maybe. Thank you very much, and welcome again. Let's move forward with our agenda, because I know we have some speakers here that wish to address us under oral communications as well as presentations. So we're going to go to our roll call for the Joint Council Successor Agency to the former Redevelopment Agency. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Yelisic.
Present.
Cervantes.
Here.
Kaufman Gomez.
Present.
Dodge.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Montesino.
Here.
Hurst.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, and please be seated. Item 4.0, consent agenda. All items appearing on the consent agenda are recommended actions that are considered to be routine and will be acted upon in one consensus motion. Any items removed will be considered immediately after the consensus motion. The mayor may allow public input prior to the approval of the consent agenda. This is the time for anyone who wishes to give us public input on the consent agenda. Please step to the microphone, and we ask that you fill out a blue card with your name and address, announce your name and address for the council. And as I often say, it's always helpful for the council members to know who their constituents are, and if you are one of our constituents, please indicate so. Seeing no one rushing to the microphone for the consent agenda, let's move on to item 4.1. This is a motion approving successor agency to the former redevelopment agency minutes of June 11th and August 13th, 2013.
These items are both on, this is the consent agenda, 4.1 and 4.2.
4.1 and 4.2. Joint resolution approving third loan agreement with the city successor agency for enforceable obligations, administrative expenses, and project-related expenses in an amount not to exceed $200,000.
I'd like to move consent agenda.
There's a motion by Montesino, a second by Dodge. Let's have questions on the motion, please. Councilmember Bilicic.
4.2, I'd like more of an explanation in regards to the third loan and the city's risk management fund.
Staff.
city and the successor agency where the city is advancing funds to the successor agency of the former redevelopment agency for enforceable obligations, and in this case for litigation against the Department of Finance. And this is the only way that we have of recovering those costs from what's called Redevelopment Property Tax Trust Fund, which was formerly tax increment. So by entering into this loan agreement, we have the possibility of getting future allocations of what was used to be redevelopment tax increment to repay the city's risk management fund.
And that's not to exceed $200,000?
Correct.
And we also can lose that money, is that correct?
We can't lose it at this point in time. We have entered into a contract with attorneys as authorized by council for the litigation expenses.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions on the motion? Councilmember Kaufman Gomez?
Do we anticipate needing to have you return for additional funds for this, or is this going to resolve our issue with regarding the litigation and costs?
This definitely meets and exceeds actually the budget that we have.
Thank you.
Other questions for staff at this time? Seeing none? No more discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Ulises,
Yes on 4.1, no on 4.2.
Cervantes,
Yes.
Kaufman Gomez,
Yes.
Dodge,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Montesino,
Yes.
Hurst. Hurst,
Yes, and so approved. Thank you very much. Now we're going to adjourn this joint session and reconvene under our regular city council. So we're moving to the regular scheduled city council, and we'll have oral communications from the public, then the council, and then we'll have presentations after our report out of closed session. So let's first of all go out to the public and ask the public to inform the council on what's on their mind. So if members from the public would like to address us at this time, this is the time for public comments on items that are not on our agenda. Step forward, use a microphone, and announce your name so your comments can be part of the public record.
Good evening. My name is Joel Campos. I'm with Second Harvest Food Bank. And the reason that I'm here today speaking to you, members of the council, is just to let you know that September is officially the Hunger Action Month. Is the month Second Harvest and Feeding America, or national agency, are bringing awareness to all the community about hunger in this county and in this city especially. Hunger is a real issue. Hunger exists even in this city, and a lot of the people, especially during the off season, are unemployed, and that's when they really are in need of services. The official color of September is orange, and we encourage the members to wear orange anytime during the month of September, just to support those families that are struggling with food, to put food on their table. Also, to support and talk about CalFresh, which is the federal funded program for food stamps, used to be food stamps, and we asked the council to just be speaking out to whatever events you guys attend and bring awareness about CalFresh, because it's a very good program for the community, and it brings a lot of revenue as well. It stimulates the economy, the local economy. For every dollar that the community or a family receives in benefits, it creates about $1.79 in return. So, it's a cool program, it's a good program, and we encourage everybody to wear orange and talk about CalFresh. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hunger is a real issue in the community. Even in this land of abundance, we have hungry people. Next speaker, please.
Yes, good afternoon. My
You
name
can
is
move the microphone down if you wish.
there. My name is Sandra Varela, and I'm here to represent the Second Harvest Food Bank and also the community here in Watsonville. I also wanted to ask you guys to get a little bit involved in the September Hunger Action Month. And as you could tell in my shirt, the real crime is ignoring hunger. I do a lot of outreach at the Second Harvest Food Bank and trying to help out families. We really see the struggles and all the needs around here, especially here in Watsonville. So, I'm encouraging you guys to get a little bit involved and look at all the things that are really happening here. As a single parent also, it is very difficult to, raise our children here in Watsonville and knowing that we go through a lot of needs. So hopefully you guys can get a little bit involved on the Hunger Action Month and also in the CalFresh program. We really try to bring it out there and teach other people, that it's very important for them to try and apply. It is very hard, and we really go and do presentations and a lot of things to try and teach them about all the things that we could help them out, but we really do need other agencies and other corporations to help us out to spread the word that CalFresh is a really benefit for the families as well as our community. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming here and speaking to us this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Dulce Sixos. I'm from District 3.
And my name is Juanita Alvarez.
And we are here to represent the Watsonville Youth City Council. This school year, the Watsonville Youth City Council has committed on reaching a specific goal of externally rebranding Watsonville.
To do so, we plan, with the help of our community, on improving public safety, beautifying downtown Watsonville, and organizing youth-oriented events.
Also, we wanted to remind the council that this September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and it would be much appreciated if you showed your support by wearing these gold ribbons in honor of the children. And we would like to thank you for your time and your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and please pass those ribbons on to staff, and we'll be proud to wear them, I believe. Anyone else wishing to address the council at this time? Please approach the podium.
Thank you. To try and continue from where we were the last time I talked to you.
Mr. Lang, would you announce your name,
Yeah,
please?
my name is Christopher Lang, and I'm here to talk to you about nonviolence and making it a way of life here in Watsonville. An example of how far we have to go together. When I last talked to you, I told you a story about a couple of police officers in the park. And as I was walking away, I couldn't quite hear what you were saying, but you were saying something about you would be happy to come with me to the police department or something like that. And it seemed to me like you were maybe in a, to put it roughly, a punishment mode. You know, like maybe you thought that they had treated me wrong and they deserved some discipline of some kind. Which is a perfect example of how far we have to go together. Because the way I see it, those two guys were obvious victims of the situation that we're talking about here. That's how far we have to go to be able to come to another consciousness, another way of seeing life. You know, when you look at it, for instance, once you've made a complete and total commitment to nonviolence, it protects you. That's how I protect myself, is with that commitment. And it took me 20 years. It actually took me 20 years. 10 years into saying, all right, I commit myself to nonviolence, I went to prison for violence. 10 years in. But I know you guys are going to be able to learn faster than I do. I know you are. And I'm sure you'll be able to stay out of prison doing it. You know, I'm sure you will. But I know that the hardest part, once we've gotten to the point where you actually believe it is possible, See, I know that it's beyond possible. It's inevitable. We're going to get there. There's no doubt about it. Right within our lifetimes, we will be living in a nonviolent community together. But I can see that you guys have worked on it so many times for so long with so much failure that you don't even believe it's possible anymore. You know, and so I'd like you to get ready for the next time I talk to you. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to close your eyes and to imagine peace. And I know from talking to a lot of people in this community that you have a hard time getting that picture in your mind. And so I'm just going to ask you to imagine a dove. And that dove will be a symbol for it. Then to take that picture in your mind and just start bringing it into yourself. And I want that dove to be just a little bit bigger than you are. So when you've finally filled yourself with this picture, this imaginary picture in your mind, you'll have some left over and it'll start overflowing. And that's how it will spread, just like a disease. You know, but thank you for your
Thank you very much, Mr. Lang, and I'm always glad to help facilitate understanding. Thank you. Other speakers wishing to address the council on items that are not on our agenda? Seeing none, we'll go to the council for their comments. Councilmember Dodge? It's a voluntary thing. Nobody has to speak, you know.
I got 3 minutes?
You can take Mr. Eduardo's 3 minutes, too, because he says he has nothing to say tonight.
I'll save it for a later occasion.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's wonderful to see a lot of folks here this evening in the council chambers. The last city council meeting we had, I want to reemphasize a request that I received from some community members, some young community members, and that's the Pajaro Valley cheerleader team, Pajaro Valley High cheerleader team. 3 young ladies, Brittany Contreras, Julie Ortiz, and Jackie Corba, have been selected to participate in the London New Year's Day Parade. There was an article in Santa Cruz Sentinel about these young ladies on Saturday. They've worked hard for years through cheerleading, through I guess some of the youth soccer football teams, Pop Warner teams, and such. They recently won a camp up at UCSC, the national camp, and they were chosen to be able to represent the city of Watsonville and actually California and the United States in London on New Year's Day. Well, it takes a lot of money for these things to happen, so I've offered to help them try and get the word out. I've created a fundraising letter that we'll be sending to some businesses. But I'm really proud of these young ladies for their dedication, for their hard work, and being persistent to be able to take their life to another level. So we put the athletic director, I believe, for Pajaro Valley High. His name is Matthew Davis, and his email is there, and you can make a donation to the Pajaro Valley Athletic Department on the cheerleaders' behalf. It does take a little money. You have to raise $10,000 in a couple of months, but we don't want to give up on them. We want to be able to encourage young people in our community, as we'll hear a little bit later in the evening, on attaining their hopes and obtaining their dreams and keeping their hopes alive. Their coach says that they put in a lot of, they really understand the concept of hard work, and they saw where they could be, and they said, hey, let's bust, I won't quote them exactly. They said, let's bust ourselves and see where we can go. So I really want to be able to support these young ladies any way that we can, and I ask for people to either contact Matthew Davis at Pajaro Valley High or even myself here at the city so we can help them attain their dreams. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Dodge. Other comments from the council? Oral communications? Councilmember Bilicich.
Well, first I wanted to let people know how much we appreciated having the Zone 7 legislative meeting here in Watsonville with the Army Corps of Engineers, and Sam Farr, Congressman Farr was here too. And one of the major concerns, again, is the cost of flood insurance, and especially those people in District 7, although it affects other districts too. And one of the things that came out of that, a very positive thing, was Congressman Farr said he would investigate with FEMA, since the county and the city have made so many improvements on the levee, even though it isn't the 100-year flood plain now, that there have been improvements, that he is going to explore the option with FEMA to see if there can be a reduction. And I think that's a very positive thing. The other thing, I wanted people to understand that if you currently have a mortgage, you are required to pay flood insurance. But if your mortgage, if they send you a bill and then they say the value of your home is $225,000, then you just pay whatever that fee is. But please keep in mind, you can talk to your insurance agent if you only owe $100,000 on your home or $125,000. You only have to pay the amount of money that you owe on your mortgage. So if you want to reduce the flood insurance, you may want to explore that with your insurance agent. So I thought that was a good piece of information. Also, we attended the Loaves and Fishes, the major fundraiser, the Hungry Bowls event, with other council members present. Sold out capacity, 200 people there. I think it was a very, it was a wonderful event and a good way to help reduce hunger in our community. Then we also had the Commissioner's Barbecue, which was attended by, I think all of us were there, and recognizing our commissioners, who are very valuable. We can't make it without them. They're part of our team, and it's great to have an event there, and appreciate all of the city staff in their organization. And the last thing, I want to support, I hope people support the Santa Cruz County Fair. Again, I do not think we should have a meeting during Fair Week, because like tonight, there's a community event out there, and it would be nice to be there, but we're here. And I also think that some people that may want to attend the meeting don't, because they go to the fair. But that's an ongoing conflict every year, and I wish that the Santa Cruz County Fair, I hope they do very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And clearly, the cost of flooding is a big issue in the community. Remember that last disaster we had in '95, and how it had ramifications all over town, not just the folks that unfortunately were flooded out. And so it has major economic impact throughout the region.
There is one more comment.
Sure,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
There was another positive thing that happened. Many people in District 7 particularly are concerned about the South Sepulvedas Creek and the flooding of South Sepulvedas Creek. And although the county has improved the river, I think we've completed Phase 1, and Phase 2 is close, and Phase 3 will come. But the city is also looking at working with the South Sepulvedas Creek and looking at clearing the river. And it may take, a couple of years, but at least we are trying to be proactive and addressing things with Fish and Game, the environmentalists. It will take a lot, but I really commend city staff, especially Director Steve Palmisano, for his tenacious effort in working with, not giving up on the South Sepulvedas Creek. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, the emphasis on flood control can't be overdone. Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
Thank you. I have a few things on my to-do list. The first is I'm sharing with the public that I am doing a District 6 forum this Thursday at the Methodist Church on Stanford at 6 p.m. And this is where I have city staff helping with the support of dialogue in our community of some of the things that are coming on the agenda here, maybe some questions that they may have that with regarding budget, with regarding the downtown business development and the relinquishment of the 152. So I do encourage those of you that have an interest in knowing a little bit more about this and may have some questions on this to attend. Again, it's 6 p.m. Methodist Church on Stanford, and it's 2 days from now. The other item I have on here is, Manny, again, well wishes go to you, and Jacob's Heart. I know that you'll have a pretty good Kidrageous event at the end of this month, and we're full supportive. I think we've got a couple of our council members that will be actively participating to help out with Jacob's Heart for that event. We did a land trust tour, Mayor Lowell Hurst and myself, to take a look at the tour of the facility itself, adjacent to the PV school. And a few things came out of that, so hopefully we'll get a little bit more progress on a few things that were suggested there. The Santa Cruz County Fair, again, welcome everybody for coming to the county again for our annual fair. It's polished up very well from what I've seen. I was out there yesterday. So we do encourage all of the folks here to come and support all of those that do bring in their items for the fair, for either the livestock or their arts exhibits or anything else that they're bringing in as part of our community. And I've also done a ride-along with the fire department this weekend, spent a few hours with them, getting a better understanding about their organization and how they represent our city and how they do respond to the emergencies in this area. So I do want to thank the fire department for their patience in working with me. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Hernandez.
I also want to thank the mayor and the council members that attended the Powell River Flood Prevention Conference. It was really well attended. I also want to make some announcements. Been kind of looking on the city's Facebook page and noticed that the library is going to be open on Saturdays now from 12 to 4, and that's just the beginning. We're going to be looking at different hours. The other thing is we're having a Watsonville City Cleanup, or a Coastal Day is what it is, and that's going to be September 21st at 9 a.m. There's several locations. I know that Ramsey Park is one that's in my district. There's also PV High and River Park. I think there's one more. I'm not sure where it is. So that's coming up on the 21st. Also, we have this coming weekend, I believe, the Monterey Bay Birding Festival that's going to be here. That's going to be beginning this weekend. So if you haven't attended, it's a great event to attend here in Watsonville. If you have attended, you know what it's like, and I expect you all to be here. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem.
I just had another quick announcement about a climate change community workshop meeting that is taking place in our community rooms right next to this room here on Wednesday, September 18th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. It's an opportunity for the public to provide input on the way the city is proposing to address climate change. You can also just come learn a little bit more about our current efforts, as well as what we're proposing to do to improve air quality, decrease waste reduction, and also improve energy efficiency in all of our city buildings, increase water conservation, and also improve traffic conditions here in our city.
Thank you very much. Other council members with oral communications to the public? Seeing none. I've got a couple of quick things here. First of all, our sister city, Kawakami Mura in Nagano province or prefecture in Japan, has recently been in town with our exchange students. We have an exchange arrangement with them. They send students here. We send some students there. And the mayor often comes with them, but he was unable to attend, but he did send a letter, which I would like to read into the record, and I'll present that to the clerk. It's short, it's sweet. It's from our sister city mayor, and he says, "Hello, my friends in Watsonville. I hope you're doing well. I am Tadahiko Fujihara, the mayor of Kawakami Village. It has been unusually hot this summer in Japan. Due to the hot weather and drought, we are experiencing some difficulties growing good crops this year in Kawakami. As you know, it is the 25th anniversary of the sister city relationship between Watsonville and Kawakami this year. We welcomed 13 students here in Kawakami in May. We planted cherry trees in the middle school to commemorate the occasion. Those trees are all growing well. Cherry trees are usually in full bloom in April in Japan, but in Kawakami, the cherry blossoms are at their best in May due to the high altitude. So when you visit us in May every year, you can enjoy the beautiful blossoms of cherry trees. And I hope that our friendship will also blossom like those cherry trees. I wish that our relationship will develop even further with significance in the years ahead, and that's sincerely Mayor Fujihara in Kawakami. And it was a pleasure to attend the welcome ceremony, and let me add that former Mayor McFerrin was there, as well as former Mayor Antonio Rivas, and so the city was well represented. The next thing that I wanted to point out was the county fair, and I was out there today at the opening barbecue, and of course the theme is cowboy boots and country roots. Well, I was walking around in the livestock barn today, and I think I might have got something on my boot. So if the Mayor Pro Tem smells anything, it is my boot. I encourage everyone to attend the fair. It's bigger and better this year than ever before. It's it runs from the 10th today to the 15th, and they're really celebrating John Kegabine's 50 years of caring for the fair. And so I urge you to get out to the fair if you can. There's something for everyone out there. Last evening, there was an economic vitality survey conducted out at the church on East Lake at the Kennedy Youth Center, and there is a website where you can offer your suggestions to the county, and that is at www.sccvitality.com, and they're glad to have your economic suggestions about challenges as well as opportunities for economic development and vitality in the Pajaro Valley. The Commissioners' Barbecue was very nice, and I want to personally thank all the commissioners for attending, and I really do appreciate their input and suggestions, and we do listen to the commissioners, and when we're dependent on the commissioners. So if you have a chance to volunteer and assist on a commission, please do so. The Birding Fest, you know it's going to be tremendous. It's going to be bigger and better than ever. Like they say, it's on the wings of the cuckoo. And don't forget, it is back to school time, and so there's a lot more traffic in the streets around schools, and sometimes, it's a kind of a trying experience to wait in line and pick up your kids or wait in line for other people to pick up their kids. And so be patient, but don't hesitate to communicate with us if there's some way that we can help facilitate the coming and going from schools. So that's it from me. We're going to have a report from closed session, and then we'll do some presentations and certificates. Report from closed session, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We received a report from the Watsonville Police Department on security here in the chambers, and the council received a report on urban PCS versus the city of Watsonville, but took no action.
Thank you very much. Now we'll have a presentation, proclamation rather, to the Santa Cruz Community Counseling Center for its 40th anniversary. Do we have a representative here this evening? Come to the podium and we'll present the proclamation. Good evening and welcome. This proclamation is to the, let me get the mic on. This proclamation is to the Santa Cruz Community Counseling Center, and it reads, whereas Santa Cruz Community Counseling Center, that's known as SCCCC, has cared for people of Santa Cruz County through a spectrum of services that heal, connect, nurture the mental and social well-being of individuals, children, and families for the last 40 years. And whereas SCCCC continues to touch the lives of 1 in 4 families in Santa Cruz County, serving over 2,500 City of Watsonville residents annually through the life-transforming services delivered in bilingual, culturally sensitive manner. These services span an array of substance abuse, mental health, early childhood education, family support, HIV, AIDS, youth, and housing issues, and where the community counseling center programs are targeted toward underserved and vulnerable populations, including farm worker families, low-income children, adolescents, individuals living in poverty, transition age foster youth, individuals living with AIDS and HIV, and people involved in the criminal justice system. And whereas the agency has been an innovative leader for social services in the City of Watsonville, including Si Se Puedes, Phoenix Services, Primeros Pasos, providing culturally competent substance abuse treatment, the Papas, the only local parenting program with a focus on fathers, youth services providing mental health and substance abuse counseling for youth and their families, as well as Santa Cruz AIDS Project, Head Start, and many others. So the community counseling's mission has been to build upon the strength of people working together to create healthy change in their lives and in the community that is reflected in the delivery of quality human services guided by values of diversity, collaboration, innovation, compassion, trust, and hope. We now declare this Santa Cruz Community Counseling Center Day. Thank you for coming this evening. Would you like to say a few words? Please use the microphone.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Hurst, council members. My name is Carolyn Coleman. I'm the Executive Director of the Santa Cruz Community Counseling Center, and we really want to thank the council for this recognition of our 40th anniversary and to salute the council's investment in human services, and we appreciate the partnership with the city, and we intend for that to continue for the next 40 years. So, you know, over time, at various council meetings, you hear the stories of community members who are impacted by our services, and it's really the humanity of the stories that drive us forward in terms of our mission and working with the strengths of individuals and building a healthy and safe community, which I know are goals that the city shares. So later this month, we're going to be announcing a new agency name, and we've kind of long outgrown the Santa Cruz Community Counseling Center, SCCCCCCC, and so you'll be hearing more about that, and we'll come back and share that news with you. So yeah, on behalf of all of us at the Counseling Center and all the lives that have been touched by our services, we're deeply grateful for the partnership and support of the City of Watsonville.
Thank you very much, Ms. Coleman. We're grateful for your services as well.
Good evening, Mayor Hurst and City Council members. My name is Carmen Alicia Robles, and I am a board trustee of the Santa Cruz Community Counseling Center, and I am here on behalf of the board. I want to thank you for your support for the past 40 years. We have had a very strong presence. We have impacted many lives, and we change and transform lives. And that is why I am on the board. I want to continue to make a significant change, and I think we have a lot of change agents in the organization who continue to dedicate and commit themselves to changing lives. Thank you again for your support, your continued support, and we hope to see you next week when we celebrate our 40 years in this community and in Santa Cruz as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. I also want to thank you for your continued support. I've been Program Manager of Si Se Puede for 23 years. So Si Se Puede has been in our community for 23 years, since 1991, and I just want to say that you've been supportive throughout 23 years. Also, I want to say thank you on behalf of Alto Counseling Center and Phoenix Services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, there's a presentation of certificates to Victor Leonor, Anthony Saavedra, Brianna Alvarado with the CAB Community Restoration Project for their service with the City of Watsonville's Community Services Department Summer Lunch Program.
Hi, good evening. I'm Chris Johnson-Lyons. I'm the Executive Director of the Community Action Board, and I want to thank you for joining with me in recognizing these 3 Watsonville youth who stepped forward to help make possible the Summer Lunch Program at Callahan Park. So I have certificates for them, and maybe I could ask Mayor Hurst to join me, and I want to call them forward. It's Brian Alvarado, Victoria, not Victor, Leonor, and Anthony Saavedra. Brian is a student at Cabrillo College, and Victoria and Anthony are students at PV High.
You know, we're having a lot of typo problems lately. We didn't have the mayor of Kawakami's name spelled right either, and so don't feel lonesome. You're in good company. Let me read the certificate of recognition for Victoria Leonor in appreciation for her service to the families of Callahan Park through the Watsonville Summer Lunch Program 2013. Victoria, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Brian Alvarado, in appreciation for the service to the families of Callahan Park. Thank you. And Anthony Saavedra, we appreciate your service to the families of Callahan Park through the summer lunch program as well. Thank you. We have a photo for these folks. Someone wishing to take a photo? I think let's take this opportunity. I mean, you came all this way, right? You brought your own photographer, though. Thank you very much.
I'll send that to
We would also like to just thank the your Community Services Department for their help. You know, we pulled this together really quickly, but it wouldn't have happened without their initiative and their patience in providing the training and support for these young people just in a matter of a week or so before the program opened. So we really appreciate them for their hard work.
Well, thank you very much. And we also want to say something on behalf of CAB this evening, and that leads us to our next agenda item. This is item 3.5, a presentation of a certificate of recognition to the Community Action Board of Santa Cruz County, Incorporated, for its support and assistance with the City of Watsonville's Community Service Department Summer Lunch Program. It was kind of a last-minute deal, and we really appreciate that. And because of your help, many children were fed that might not have been fed otherwise. And so we just want to say thank you very much. We have a small token of recognition here, a certificate of recognition in support and assistance with the Parks and Rec Community Services Department Summer Lunch Program. this summer, 2013, in Callahan Park. Your time, dedication to improving the lives of Watsonville and Santa Cruz County residents is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and I'm going to ask Sarah Roby, who is the staff person with the Community Restoration Project at CAB, to come forward and accept this for us.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Roby, and I am a case manager at Community Action Board. And I just want to say thank you for working with us. And it was just a pleasure working with Brian, Victoria, and Anthony. It was just really fun to see them working hard and enjoying what they do. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and your recognition. We certainly appreciate your work, and thank you for stepping into the breach. And
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Sir.
I would just like to take this opportunity to thank the young people also. We face some difficult financial challenges in the city of Watsonville, and that was apparent during our community program funding and our budget session. But Callahan Park community is my community. It's my district. It's my neighborhood. Those are my neighbors that you were able to help and serve. And sometimes, as you heard from the folks from the Second Harvest who were here earlier, hunger is a real challenge in this valley. We face great economic challenges, and sometimes it's a choice of putting a roof over your head versus food on your table. So every meal that you serve to some young person really touched real people and real lives, and I want to thank you for stepping up and taking that initiative to help us with that program in the city. And on behalf of my residents of my district and my community, we thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Dodge, for your remarks, and we do really appreciate the volunteer work that many people do in the community. This brings us to item 3.6. This is a presentation by Pajaro Valley High School and Watsonville High School students regarding their Ivy League tour. And you have 15 minutes, and I'm sorry that I've allowed the council to run on so long this evening.
It's always...
Pardon me.
Mr. Mayor, members of our City Council, my name is Lorraine Sandoval Vigil, and it is my honor to be able to be with and accompany and to support these students that we'll be introducing to you that are members of the 2013 Fall Ivy League Tour that will go on tour to the East Coast colleges beginning October 3rd through the 11th. We have 7 members here from out of the 10 that were selected. They applied to go on this tour. There were, I think, 25 people applying. We narrowed it down. They had interviews. They have to submit very stringent application, write their essays, some letters of recommendation, go through interviews, and then they're selected. So we have 7 of them here, and I'd like to introduce them to you at this time. Cindy Valdez, and Karina Martinez, Gabriela Fernandez, Jessica Musino, and then we have 3 that have their parents here as well. We have Nancy Fernandez, and Mrs. Fernandez is here. And Rigoberto Collazo, and Mrs. Collazo is behind her. And who else is here? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Miguel Frigoso, and his mom is right here. So these are our students that are going to be doing a presentation for you. They are leaving, as I said, October the 3rd through the 11th. They will be visiting 5 states and 9 colleges. They will be taking their sleeping bags and sleeping in some of the dorms with the students at the colleges. These are Watsonville's brightest, boldest, and best that you will find because they have applied, they've put themselves through that trial, and they are going. And this is our 7th year of the Ivy League project, and we are now having some of them that just graduated from MIT and Columbia University, and they're on their way. So we do have the talent here in Watsonville. So I'd like to have the students, there's a video you have, right? So would you go ahead?
Let's give these students a hand, first of all. Now, we're going to have a little presentation. Thank you.
My name is Mariana Rocha. I am a junior at Watsonville High School. I want to study engineering, hopefully biology or chemistry. I am an Ivy League participant, and Ivy League will help me see what it's like to attend top universities. My dream school is MIT, but I also plan on applying to Brown and Tufts University. Once I'm done with my education, I want to build prosthetics to help those who lost their arms in the war or who just need to get their lives back.
Hello, my name is Karina Martinez Ortiz and I'm a senior at Watsonville High School. Throughout the years in school, I have gained interest in the area of science. This is why I want to become a pediatrician. Therefore, I would like to major in biology, and the universities that I would like to apply to is UC Davis, UC Santa Cruz, and UC Merced. My dream school university is Yale, but I would also like to apply to Cornell and Brown. This Ivy League tour is very important to me because I would gain knowledge from each of the universities and see what they have to offer. I also see, after going to the Ivy League tour, I see myself as being a role model to my family and community. The reason is because I would show them that if I had the privilege to visit this prestigious universities, then they could also have this privilege and many other if they are committed, determined, and persevere.
Hi, my name is Cindy Valdez and I'm a junior at Watsonville High School. I would like to become a pediatrician one day, and I'm planning on applying to Stanford University and Brown University and also some California colleges such as UC Davis and Berkeley. I would like to come back to my community one day and become a doctor here in Watsonville or anywhere nearby.
Hello, my name is Mayra Munoz and I am a junior at Watsonville High School. When I'm older, I would like to be a surgeon and hopefully attend Harvard. I would also like to apply to Yale and Brown. When I am done with my education, I would like to come back and help those that are in need. Those that can't afford to get a surgery, I would love to do it, even if they don't have the money to pay for it all, as long as they give like a donation or anything that they could. I've learned that because I've seen many shows where other surgeons do the same, and that really motivates me to do it. Someone saved my life, and I would also like to save others.
Hello, my name is Chloe Eden, and I'm a junior at Watsonville High School. I'm interested in studying veterinary medicine, and my dream school is Cornell University, and I also plan on applying to Brown University and Yale University. I have been interested in studying veterinary medicine since I was really young because I've always loved animals and I've always wanted to help them. So that's what I plan on doing for my community, is helping the animals.
Thank you for your support.
Hi, my name is Jessica Messino and I am a senior at Bahar Valley High School. I would really want to go do this trip because I come from a low-income family and they don't have the opportunity to give me a trip such as going to see the schools in the East Coast. And so this is one of the greatest opportunities that I've gotten to go see those schools. And some of my top schools are there, such as Cornell and Columbia. And if I do get accepted into those schools, I will bring back the architect the great architect that I will be, and help fix up my high school since there's a lot of traffic, try to figure out what is the problem and make a solution. That is why I want to go to this trip. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Miguel Fregoso and I am a senior at Paro Valley High School. I would like to attend Brown University or maybe even Cornell, but this would be a really good experience for me just to get a feel of what the East Coast would be, and it's a really great opportunity because, well, Brown has a really good medical program and I would like to go into the medical career, but also to just experience something new and get an opportunity that may only come once.
Hi, my name is Gabriela Fernandez, but everybody calls me Gabby, and I go to Pajaro Valley High School. I'm currently a senior, and I have so many dreams and so many aspirations. And first of all, I want to go to a really good university that provides me with a medical career, because I want to be a doctor. I've had an experience with, like, first-hand experience with doctors that don't know how to speak my language, and it's something that has really impacted my life. So I know that I am a bilingual young woman, and I really want to change that and come back to my community and just help everybody that needs help, like translating, and be a really good doctor and giving them all that I have. I feel like this trip will really open my eyes and will really motivate me and inspire me to do my best and everything. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Rigoberto Collazo. I'm a junior at Pajaro Valley High School, and I would like to go on this trip because in my family we don't have the resources to go on this trip, so I think it's a great privilege that the Watsonville Ivy League gives us this privilege to go to the East Coast and visit the universities. I want to become an aerospace engineer, so I want to go to MIT and maybe other schools over there. I don't know which other schools over there offer my major, but I know that if I do that, I will come back to this community and motivate more people to go to the university. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Nancy Fernandez, and I'm a junior here at Pajaro Valley High School. And I want to take advantage of this opportunity because both of my parents didn't get to finish high school. They had to work at an early age, and they are the ones that have motivated me to keep on going, to do my best. And I've been to some UCs here, but I want to go to other universities, such as the ones in the East Coast, and get a feeling of like how it is over there. So it might be an opportunity or an option for me to when I apply. And as of right now, I don't know what major I want to do, but if I go to the field trip, I might, I don't know, get inspired and actually find my major. Thank you.
They're now in their final stages of raising the money for this tour. They raised their own money. Nobody pays for it. District doesn't pay for it. Nobody else pays for it. They do a number of things. They do car washes. They'll do the pizza thing, go professional begging, so to speak, soliciting individuals or businesses. So it costs $1,850 per kid, so it's $18,500 for the entire tour. So any donations would be more than welcome. They're tax deductible, and you can people can donate at this address, and see you can address it to Jimena Ospina, counselor at PV High School. There are 5 students from Watsonville and 5 students from PV, so there's 10 students altogether. Thank you.
Well, certainly, thank you very much, and I want to comment and commend the students. You know, not only are they the best and brightest in our 2 high schools, they're also the bravest, because it really does take a lot to achieve and to be able to put yourself out there and to go so far away from home. And so it'll be a eye-opening, life-changing experience just to go, let alone to be accepted and attend and be successful as a graduate. And so we're really pleased, and we wish you the very best in your fundraising luck, and hopefully this evening, the promotion this evening can assist you in some small manner. But let me also thank the parents for their bravery and their dedication in making sure their students are the best and the brightest and the bravest in town as well. And so congratulations to you all. Councilmember Bilicich.
I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed listening to your vision, listening to your dreams, and listening to you want to solve problems and accept challenges in our community. I think it's great because you are our future. This is going to be your world, and so it's great to see you have ideas and you're inspired. And Lorraine, I can't thank you enough for your dedication always to this group, and appreciate it very much. So thank you and good luck to all of you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations, students. Any council members, any other comments? Councilmember Copeland Gomez?
Yes, thank you. I too have some experience of meeting with the youth and having you present to the Rotary Club. Our current president, Ron Sandage, is a very adamant supporter of your organization, and we've done what we can from that particular service aspect to give you a hand a little bit financially for your group to make it there. It's a great accomplishment for all of you to go and have that type of experience that can never be replaced. And we do want you back. We want you back in this community, and so we're investing in you to be able to do that and come back and be role models for our community here. So congratulations on this achievement, and have a blast and get as much out of this experience going over there and checking out all of those colleges and campuses as you can. So thanks again for your presentation to us as well this evening.
Indeed, thank you very much. Let me tell the students how lucky they are to have an advisor like Lorraine Sandoval Vigil. You know, she in another century, she was a vice principal at Watsonville High School, and she kept a close eye on me all those years, and I know that she'll keep a close eye on you and protect you from harm as well. So congratulations and best of luck to all you students. You're welcome. One more hand for the students, please. We certainly hope there'll be many opportunities for you when you come back to our community after you attend and graduate. And that's one of the tasks of the council here, is to make sure that there's going to be opportunities for future youth in our community. And so it's a big job, and thank you for waiting us out this evening and being patient with our presentations as well. Thank you. We're now going to move to our consent agenda, and the consent agenda is items 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4, report of disbursements, approving minutes, rejection of claims, and a final adoption of an ordinance amending Chapter 1, Claims and Warrants. And so our consent agenda is generally without a lot of discussion, but there might be items on here that the council may want to have questions on or further explanation. So, council, what's your choice on the consent agenda this evening?
Second.
There's a motion by Dodge to move the consent agenda, a second by Montesino. Now we'll have discussion on the motion, please. Councilmember Bilicich.
I will be voting no on 4.1. 4.3, I'm hoping that we'll have more explanation at the next closed session regarding these claims. Is that possible that we can put those on there?
Certainly, you're welcome to discuss those with staff at any time.
Okay, well, however they're discussed, whether it's closed session or whatever, I'd like more detailed information, but I don't want to do it here.
Okay, we can put them on closed session.
Okay, thank you. And 4.4, this is where we're going to no longer be required to approve expenditures. We will be looking at expenditures after the fact. And I will be voting no on that because I think we have a fiscal responsibility to check expenditures.
Thank you. Any further comments from council? Councilmember Dodge?
I'd like to ask staff that on item regarding item 4.4, even on actually item 4.1, on item 4.1, approving reported disbursements, we're approving money that's already been spent by the city.
There are transactions that have already happened. So we've already, for example, let's say we bought tires. We've already ordered the tires, and we're going to pay the vendor at this point. So the transaction's already happened. We owe the money. So it's already after the fact. And so that's why state law was changed that general law cities no longer approve disbursements because it's an anachronism from the days when Board of Aldermen actually approved every check register. We will continue to report all expenditures. So all expenditures will still come to the council. They will still be available to the public. But in fact, these transactions have already happened. The services have already been rendered. And what it does is it delays payments to vendors because it's making payments happen every 2 weeks. This will make it much more efficient and will not really, and does not really impact internal controls.
So item 4.4 is part of what we're agreeing to, some of the procedures that the grand jury recommended that we did to update our financial procedures in response to we're not able to go to new software and to be able to go to new state-of-the-art accounting system. Am I correct? So item 4.4 is making reference to the way we approve the disbursements by not having this agenda item on our consent calendar anymore. Am I correct?
The grand jury did recommend, make that recommendation, that this not serve as the city's internal control process for warrants, and we also provided the council in the last meeting with a state publication provided as a model of best practices in which they recommended that this no longer be done by city governments because it proposes a system of control that is really an illusion of control. It doesn't provide internal controls, it's really after the fact, and therefore they say that they recommend it not be done. They do recommend that the expenditures continue to be reported publicly and be available to the public, which they will be under this ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Mr. Mayor, I see the finance director in attendance this evening. May I ask him a question on the items on the consent agenda, please? Buenas noches. Good evening.
Good evening.
You're the finance manager for the finance director for the city of Watsonville, sir? Am I not correct?
Yes.
So that you support the adoption of item 4.4 in our consent agenda as a way of being able to update our financial practices in the city of Watsonville?
Yes, I do. And that item was presented to you on the previous council meeting a couple of weeks ago. This is just the formal adoption of that.
Correct, that's my understanding of it. And since you're the finance director of the city of Watsonville, do you welcome any council member to be able to make an appearance at the finance department and inspect any records of the city?
Yes, and in fact, I have received questions from some of the council members, sometimes extensive 3-4 pages of questions, and I have responded to those questions just to clarify some of the items on the report. As it is, the report that is being presented to you has a lot of limitations because of the software that we utilize.
Correct, that's what I was making mention to.
We are gonna, this is one of the improvements that we're making as part of the recommendation of the grand jury report. One of the recommendations that they made, they indicated that this report is not adequate and that it doesn't work as an internal control mechanism. So what we're doing is just updating what has been in the city ordinance and also trying to stay current with some of the changes at the state, and eventually we will be able to hopefully find a new financial system that will be able to provide you with more information. But even then, a new financial system will not be a replacement for this report. We will likely be able to improve this report to have more information, and that report will continue to come to you as Carlos indicated. It will continue to come to you every couple of weeks for your review, and it will be posted on our website, and it will be available for you to ask questions and for the public as well.
I thank you, sir, for answering my questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Bilicic.
Again, that's for review, not for approval, because it will already be spent. And I really think that the council needs to, with all the reports from the grand jury, yes, they want improvements, but I also think they want fiscal accountability, and that's one of our roles is to watch expenditures. So just so you know, I'll be voting no on this part. Thank you.
Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
Before you go, thank you. I'd like to have a little bit more expansion on the internal control mechanisms, because that is being proactive when we start to see some of the budget items reach their limits a little prematurely so that we can then get accountability before money is spent. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that's going to look like so that we are preempt earlier, so we can be involved in that control process?
Yes, thank you for that question. Some of the internal controls that are in place today is we have a policy and procedure where expenditures are reviewed and monitored by the department heads and also by the finance department. Any deviations on expenditure line items by over or under 5% have to be monitored and explained to the department. If that variance persists for more than 1 month, then there has to be a different level of accountability of reporting to the city manager and explaining how that variance is going to be corrected. And if that variance continues for the next month, then there has to be an aggressive corrective action plan to correct that. In addition to that, we have the ongoing budget that has approval by the council. We also have a mid-year review that comes to the council where we look at the reports themselves and the data, where the city is going. We also have an external audit performed every year and a comprehensive audited financial report that delineates all the expenditures for the year and looks at comparisons of budget versus approved appropriations. And also, as a matter of fact, we sent both the budget and the audited financial statements to GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, and we have received certificates for excellence in financial reporting for a lot of years, over 10 years on both of those instances for those two reports. So we believe that a lot of the internal controls that we have with the policies, along with the adoption of the budget, the CAFR, the mid-year report, are sufficient for internal controls. In addition, we have the warrant register being presented to you on a biweekly basis, and those will continue to be presented to you for review. What has happened in the past is that you were approving them, even though the ordinance or the municipal code was slightly different on the requirements. But I think it is a good practice to continue to bring the report over to you for review and have that information on the website. So all those internal controls will continue. And as we move on throughout the year, we will think of other different elements of improving internal controls. As you are aware, we could probably come up with 20 other different options, but we have to be cost effective as well. So we need to think of what are the best options to present information to the council in a way that utilizes resources in the most efficient manner. So we will continue working at this, and if we do get a new financial system, we will be looking also at processes at that point and revising any processes and making improvements at that point as well for internal controls.
Can I make a recommendation in this process? Because you're saying that you're going to the department heads, and that's about a month out, and that's with the variance if you're close, getting close to tapping out on that particular line item. And then from there, it goes to the city manager. We need to have something in here with council to know when that trigger is hit, so that we can be aware as council for the city on that type of frame that we can go ahead and be proactive with. So if we can get something there, that would help me know where we are, because some of the stuff I'm hearing about, not from you, but from departments, and I don't know what I don't know, because not all departments I'm communicating the same way with to find out that there are things that are really tapping the top end of what their budget line item expenses would be. So I want to have more proactive information here at this level.
We will consider that, and there are some practices in other cities that have better technology where actually they have presented more regular high-level reports, not line-by-line item reports, because that would be very exhaustive and a lot of staff hours will be required. But we will look at some type of high-level summary reports to come forward to the council in the future.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Really quick before we close on this, I just want to clear some of the council members' comments that this does not decrease the transparency of the city, because the items that are still going to be, the items are still going to be online as they have in the past for the general public, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dodge? Let's beat this to death.
Well, absolutely. Myself, I have confidence in our finance director and our finance department. and the city manager's ability to be able to have those monitoring issues in place. And I look forward to us obtaining that software at some particular day so that we can move into this century. But I think that what we're talking about is disbursements and items that have already been paid, that have already been bought. It's trying to micromanage departments after an item's already been spent is not necessarily in our privy. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your clarification, and let me briefly comment on that. You know, this change to the code is designed to increase transparency, and it's designed to increase the valuableness of the report. It's not permission to expend money. It's a report. It's a review. It's not authorization to expend. It's like, I want to authorize you guys to buy nuts and bolts, but I don't want to tell you what size or what kind or where the best deal to buy them is. But I want to make sure you have authorization to do so. And so this modification of the code hopefully helps clarify, and I just don't want the public to be confused about our intent or the additional clarity that we hope that this will provide. So we have a motion and a second. I think we've had an adequate discussion, perhaps over adequate. Let's have a roll call, please.
Bielicic?
No on 4.1, no on 4.4, and clarification, 4.3 A, C, and D, that we discuss them in the next closed session.
Cervantes?
Yes.
Hoffman Gomez?
Yes.
Dodge?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Montesino?
Yes.
Hurst?
Yes, and so approved. That concludes the consent agenda. Let's move on to old business. Item 7.1, and the council will note that there are some revisions to item E and F on item 7.1. Can we have a staff report on item 7.1? This is charter communication agreements.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Mario Maldonado. I'm the Deputy City Manager, and tonight I come before you in my capacity as the cable man for the city of Watsonville.
Cable man.
That's
Cable
it's
guy.
It's a dying breed, and tonight you'll know why.
We're dying to know.
So first, the action that is being requested of you today is to authorize the city manager to sign a couple of agreements with Charter Communications that essentially memorializes complimentary cable service and dedicated institutional network for one more year. So let me walk you through why this is old business. Back in 2010, you, in a closed session, provided staff, directed staff to try to settle this dispute that arose as we got into the interpretation of a state regulation. Back in 2006, the state of California passed a new law that essentially deregulated or took away the authority of a local government like ourselves to regulate cable industry and implemented what is commonly referred to as DIPCA. Historically, local governments like ourselves had the ability to negotiate an agreement known as a franchise agreement, and in exchange for use of our right-of-way, we would get some complimentary services such as free television to police departments, to our youth centers, as well as what's called an institutional network, basically use of their fiber to connect city facilities to transmit data and video. There are three primary documents that we rely on. The 1998 Cable Franchise Ordinance essentially regulates how a cable company can conduct business in Watsonville. The 2000 Charter Communications Franchise Agreement, that was a 13-year agreement that was due to expire April of this year, and the 2009 DIFCA ordinance, and that's the Watsonville DIFCA ordinance that essentially took state law and incorporated those matters that pertain to local control. As I was alluding to earlier, the state of California now regulates cable industry. A cable company can actually abandon an existing contract if a competitor comes into the marketplace. And that is what happened to us here in Watsonville. We had a franchise agreement that was due to expire in 2013. However, AT&T came in 2009 and said, we're going to offer services, video services. They were a telephone company historically. They were going to get into the business of video. And therefore, Charter made the decision that based on their interpretation of the law, they could abrogate or nullify our agreement and go seek a state franchise. And the issue there is that under a state franchise, there are less things that we get in exchange for having them providing services in Watsonville. Primarily, those are in the areas of cable service and this iNets. So essentially, we had a difference of opinion, and I will get into a little bit later as to why that difference of opinion occurred. Here's what we're talking about today. The franchise basically provides for basic cable to city facilities, but also to local schools. And this is historical back to the 1960s. In the early 90s, early 2000s, the cable companies also began to offer a free basic internet connection to local government, especially in the rural areas where there was very limited access to internet. That was one way where cable companies felt they could give back to the community. And then also developing this institutional networks to connect remote facilities to basically transmit video and data through using the cable company's lines. Part of the complementary service also includes the ability to have 4 public education and government access channels. You're mostly familiarized with our channel 70. That's what the G is channel 70 there, the government programming. And we have the ability to charge a small fee to support that operation, as well as assess a cable franchise fee. So really, those are the components that were in play with the implementation of the Digital Infrastructure and Video Competition Act of 2006. What DIVCA did was establish a new state bureaucracy under the CPUC that they're the issuers of state franchises. As I mentioned, AT&T entered the market in 2009, and Charter felt they could nullify their contract with us, and they went ahead and applied for a state franchise. However, there was what we call the John Lair extension for Santa Cruz County that essentially gave local cities a reprieve and would extend those services up to July 1st of 2014. And it was pretty straightforward. It said if in a county there exists a federal consent decree in relation to cable agreements, then in that county, this limitation, this abrogation limitation does not apply until 2014. And that's where the dispute arose between the City of Watsonville and Charter Communications. We notified CPUC of our interpretation. They concurred with us. However, be it how that it's a state bureaucracy, they in effect didn't take action, and by not taking action, Charter was granted a state franchise for the City of Watsonville. And the only way to basically implement what we call the John Lair clause was to litigate that, and that's why at the direction of council, we were directed to try to find a settlement out of that. And Charter felt the same way. They didn't want to engage in the litigation. So over the last couple of years, we've been trying to find a solution and memorialize that in document form. And we have reached that agreement now. We will continue to have the existing services, so nothing changes, and they in effect are honoring the spirit of the John Lair clause until 2014. In exchange, the big exchange is that charter will now operate for all other matters, will operate under the state franchise, which would have happened in a year from today. We will continue to have the free internet access that we have. We have that at 3 facilities. We will continue to have service to the schools and to our facilities. We have met with the school district and we have advised them of this change sometime last year, and in previous years I've had communication with staff, but we formally did it through our intergovernmental committee meeting, so they're aware that this service is going to come to an end. We will continue to have the INET, and we actually have 8 remote sites. The agreement originally spelled out 6, but in fact we have 8. And again, charter will continue to operate state franchise. And we're doing this settlement through 2 documents. One is a very boilerplate memorandum of understanding that essentially spells out, we have disagreements and there's a dispute, and in an effort to settle, this is what we're going to do. And then we have what Charter calls a master fiber agreement, and that's exclusively the terms and conditions for the use of the institutional network. And the reason being is because they use a third-party vendor to give us access to those fibers. So they have a separate carve-out. But in essence, we're agreeing to 3 components: continue free cable, continue the internet, and continue the institutional network. However, beyond 2014, the picture there, those TVs are no longer in existence, but the question of money always persists. And so staff is working on an alternative plan for the INET, and later tonight you'll hear a presentation on a fiber optic project that will replace our need for an INET. We've notified the school district that the free cable service will come to an end, and we're also looking at our needs for TV at our facilities, and mainly looking at our police and fire stations, as well as our youth facilities. Now, I have been in conversations with AT&T, and they're looking at offering free access through their UVerse program. What's new under DIFCA is that both the satellite companies have never had to do it, and the AT&Ts of the world, Verizons, don't have to do it. So I can understand from Charter's perspective, they were providing this free service and no one else had to do it. So AT&T, in trying to be a better partner in the community, even though they're not required to provide these services, they are considering doing it. And so we're in conversations with them as a possible alternative to Charter. So again, we're asking that you authorize the city manager to sign these agreements, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Let's try out some questions for Mr. Maldonado. Councilmember Dodge, you're up first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. 1998 was the date of the Charter Communications, was that our cable committee that we had
Yes.
way back then?
That's what, when I first got hired, I was given that assignment to finish the negotiations with Charter, and they had been ongoing for 5 years.
At least 5 years before
Yeah.
that.
So we had a committee that I staffed.
All right, just trying to dust it off and recall that historical presentation there. So really, until the 30th of June in 2014, we're looking at buying time to be able to look at what works out best for us.
Exactly.
Is this allow AT&T to still approach us in another manner?
Yes, and AT&T is in fact already providing services here in Watsonville.
Correct.
And we're under Channel 99. So our Watsonville TV, our Channel 70, is viewed on AT&T as well as Charter Communications.
You should publicize that more, actually. I do get questions pertaining to that, although AT&T doesn't serve my neighborhood, and particularly Charter, because of their internet services and their outreach to the monolingual Spanish-speaking community. There's a lot of internet access to a lot of folks in District 5. So the school district, they'll receive the free service under this deal that we're signing?
Correct, for 1 more year.
And how many facilities did you say that we had in the city that receives that?
So it's all the schools and all of our youth centers,
Our youth centers, that was my question, actually. They're receiving that.
And we also have a couple of nonprofits because the buildings are owned by the city, Vets Hall, police departments, fire stations.
And enlighten me a little bit to the internet services that they've changed over the period of time. I mean, we have a Cruzio tower on top of us, our heads right now, and I'm sorry I didn't bring my foil hat for the occasion, but does that rule that out?
So one thing to just keep in mind is that as a local entity, we've never been able to regulate internet. This is in the days where cable companies were just that, cable companies. Nowadays, they're phone companies, they're cable companies, they're internet companies, and so forth. And so we continue to have relationships with AT&T as well as Charter to access their fiber, but that is separate from the cable services. What we have from them is the ability to get one low speed connection, and there are 3 facilities in the city that use that, and it's again, it may be a remote site where there may be a couple of staff members, and that's the only way we can access them.
That's what I was alluding to in particular, as you know, when I was elected to this council, that I'm a big supporter of obtaining a T1 line, or the fiber optic lines that exist. Transported, the only place in the county is from over the hill into Cruzio headquarters, and extending that line possibly around the railroad acquisition, but that's a whole nother scenario, and we're going to be talking about another optic fiber. So this is really, my questions are pertaining, what we're talking about cable, are we talking about internet service also? Is that basically what I'm trying to allude to?
Yes, so as Charter has a internet product and a cable product and a phone product. In our current agreement, they commit to providing free cable TV and a free drop of the lowest speed of internet. And right now we have about 20 sites where we received free cable, and about 3 sites where we use their internet connection.
Thank you, and that will be extended to 2014 before we have to make it a final decision on.
That's correct, because in 2014, what Charter is doing in other communities, and they've shown me agreements, is that they're entering into agreements with those communities, and it's a fee-for-service basically at that point. And it's very expensive, as you learned tonight. Just the iNet, it's over $100,000.
Correct. I'll let you explain that. Although there was talk on that original cable commission about the city taking over the cable at that particular time.
Thank you, Councilman Dodge. Councilmember Bilicich.
All of these may not be relevant to the free cable in 2014, but it does have to do with Charter. Do you see Charter digging up streets anymore for cable?
They use our right-of-ways, and it's overhead, most of it. In the newer subdivisions, they do have underground conduit. And in the past, I haven't seen them, but they, from time to time, they'll come in and pull permits, to run new fiber, but it may not be necessarily for cable service. Again, these are very multiple service companies, so they may be dropping fiber for more bandwidth for their internet. Yes.
Well, my concern is that city streets are being resurfaced. And it's inevitable that once they get resurfaced, here comes the cable company, the phone company, whoever, PG&E, they all have to start digging up the streets. And I want to make sure that these types of things are addressed prior to street surfacing. So if you foresee things that you're in communication with Public Works, so things don't happen like that.
I can tell you that our Public Works Department does a great job in reaching out to all the utility companies, especially if there's going to be a major project. There's usually lead time and letting them know, and that's how we've been able to share costs to put new conduit and the like. So typically, that's how it's coordinated. It doesn't always work that way, particularly with PG&E, but I do know, and Interim Director Palmisano is available to add, but I've in the years that I've been doing this, that is one area where our staff do proactively notify the utility companies if we're going to be doing major work in a street.
Okay. You also talked about, charter, a lot of people still have charter cable, and many of them have basic cable, and some have extended and everything. What is the city fee that we get from the cable company?
So we get, and this is standard throughout the state, it's a 5% franchise fee. So basically, that's an assessment for the use of our right-of-way. So that's pretty standardized now, especially under DIFCA.
So that's added to the residents' bill, and that money goes to do what?
That's a general fund.
General fund, okay.
Money. It's basically a franchise fee. It's a tax for doing service and for use of a right-of-way. And then there's a PIG access fee, and we are pretty much the lowest, and it's 64 cents per subscriber. And other locations, it's a percentage or it's higher, but we get enough to pay the cost of running our government channel, so that those monies are earmarked, and we have to earmark them separately to manage the operation of our Channel 70. So that's how we're able to bring live broadcasts to the community, is through those funds. Now, at the beginning, Charter did give us over $150,000 to buy equipment and to really set up the program. But ongoing, we depend on that 64-cent fee. And we have not increased that. We've always had the ability to do so, but we've never done that.
There's one other concern I have with Charter, and that is that, and you and I have talked about this, and it has to do with television channels. I think many people do not know that if they have a modern television, an HD television, that they can get HD channels through Charter without paying $5 a month for that box. When can we expect to have the channels that are available through Charter published? HD channels published.
So Charter publishes those annually, and they send those to subscribers, and they send us a copy.
No, they don't. What they do is, if you have the box, they'll tell you, you can get channel 750, or you can get channel 420, or whatever. I'm talking about the channels they don't tell you about, like 45.3 is KSBW, or 89.1 is Fox, and 89.2 is CBS. They don't tell you that in their bills anywhere. And I think many people believe they have to buy that box to get HD channels, and they don't. How can we help the residents know that? It should come out, and if they can't do it, in one of our publications.
From time to time, we have the ability to do the bill inserts, and we've worked in the past with them, so we can certainly do that again.
I think it would be appreciated, because I don't think residents know. Carlos, you and I have talked about it before, too. And it wouldn't take that much, but if it came out from the city, at least people know that there is access to HD television without having a box.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
All right, let's see where I can begin. What is our anticipated cost if we had to do this contract, a continuation of the contract as of July 1st, 2014? Okay, I'm just wanting to make sure I've got it.
So, just for the institutional network, give me a second here. It's over.
Okay, so I'm skipping ahead is what I guess I'm getting to, because some of these questions sort of overlap, I guess, between the 2 points.
Right.
Okay.
So just on the first year, and again, you'll hear this later on, but first year, it's about 43,000 if we do a reduced level of service. But if we keep the current level of service, and this is again for the institutional network to connect to those remote sites, it's over 149,000. And so, and what it is that because we've grown to depend on that network to communicate, and we've built new facilities such as our water recycling facility, we have a number of staff out there, so it requires a lot of bandwidth, if you will, to be able to connect from, our hub is here in downtown.
Yes.
So our networks, everything's based here. So we use Charter's dark fiber to connect those facilities. So in essence, those are the quotes that they've provided to us, and that is why later tonight, staff will be presenting to you a proposal to essentially develop our own fiber network. And it's not uncommon, other jurisdictions are looking at that as well.
So to develop our own fiber network, will this benefit the rest of the community that can be able to tap into it between point A and point B of where this is going? So the residents in our community can have access to this? Or is it strictly just for the purpose of what we've got that we're using it for our city and schools?
As I understand it, in reviewing the staff report and talking to the IT manager, this is really the proposal you'll be hearing tonight is just to maintain the current status quo. What you're alluding to is what other cities have looked at, and that is a much more costly rollout of a network that would essentially be a competitor to the utility companies. And there are models out there, but again, it's very expensive, and ours would be a closed network.
I guess I'm also, the reason why I'm bringing this up is how many different lines do we need to have out there in terms of what the city needs, and then we have AT&T, and then we have the cable. There's so many different lines that are out there, and we need an effective form of communication and resource for the community, and I want to make sure if we're spending the money that we're doing the highest and best utility of that.
These are very expensive endeavors, first and foremost, and so on the administrative leadership level, the city manager for some time now and our IT department have been working on a broader broadband project. In fact, we were able to secure funds at the state level to kind of look at that issue as a public policy issue, to bring what Councilmember Dodge was talking about, just bringing in more bandwidth to our region, because that will spur economic development. Now, those are very expensive endeavors. They've done it over the hill connecting to Santa Cruz, but it kind of ends there in downtown Santa Cruz. Yeah. So, there are, right now, the grants, we're essentially mapping the region to be able to then try to continue to compete for federal funds to hopefully one day extend that. Basically, it's a highway, if you can think about it that way, and we are shut off of that highway, so we want to connect to that highway, but that takes millions and millions of dollars. Now, that is one area, and then the other is our own needs. And typically, how it happens is that you have this big private companies that even the AT&Ts of the world and Charter of the world contract with. So all they do is they specialize in laying out cable. And so we have some big hubs here that AT&T buys from, as well as Charter, and then they in turn resell. And so what we're attempting to do, as I understand it, with this project is to run our own fiber. And we've done that. When we moved to this building, we did that. Albeit it was a short distance, but we ran our own fiber from Old City Hall to here. So again, we didn't have to depend on the AT&Ts or Charters, but typically, so this is a larger project, but it's in that spirit where we're using conduit. Anytime we build a new road, we put in conduit so that for future, we can go in and run cable to those conduits.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bilicic.
I just wanted to say that charter's been in our community for a long time, and there are many people that still have charter. But when charter went out last week, many residents were very upset that when they called charter, they kept saying, well, you have to, they were calling to have their television fixed. And they said, oh, you have to have the package. You need the phone, and you need your internet, and you need to have the whole thing. And they said that the personnel were not nice, they were rude. I wish we had a charter representative here. I know that has nothing to do with this topic, but this topic, is there any, there's no reason not to approve this. I mean, it's only, there isn't really an option. They're going to do this one more year. We can't tell them to do it 10 years. They're being nice, so to speak, to do it one more year. Is that my understanding of this project?
Yes, and our only other alternative would be to litigate, and that would be costly.
Right, okay, thank you.
Well, I, for one, am sorry we have to deal with this. I think this is another example of the state usurping the local control and how there's going to be a lot more screens go dark because a lot of people don't get public access already, and there'll be even fewer after June 30th of 2014. So you made some reference as to that this was a highway, and I see it as a public highway that's now going to be a toll road.
Yeah, and like I said at the onset of my presentation, we're pretty much going extinct because I will, under DIVCA, the city, or I as a cable person for the city, really don't have the ability to pick up the phone and say, hey, you're doing this, you got to do this. Now they need to just answer to the state.
Remind us and the public what the letters PEG stand for?
So that's the Public Educational and Governmental Access, and now that's a federal program under the FCC, whereby they require video providers, actually just cable companies and video providers, not the satellite companies, to require them to give us access to their bandwidth so that we can run our own public channels.
Wait.
That piece does not, it does continue under a state franchise, but again, we have further limitations in terms of how we can use the funding that is earmarked for PEG programming.
Well, in the sense that, and I don't want to go off track too much, it's expiring in this community, which is going to really affect community television funding.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. But since you raised that, I do want to point out that we're very self-sufficient. We have a contract with Community TV, and we in turn give them 3 channels that they can use to broadcast their programming. But we're very self-sufficient in that we have our own intern, we have our own original program, and we broadcast live. So while we have a relationship with Community TV, we don't depend on them to be able to do our own programming, which is different for the city of Santa Cruz, the county, or Scotts Valley.
Correct.
Very informative.
Approve.
Any more staff report on this? We've taken council questions. Are there more council questions? Let's open this up for public input. The public highway becomes the toll road. Just put your money in the slot there.
Community, right. I don't have a question about this presentation. My question is, the text is impossible to read out here on that screen. The only thing we can actually read is the topic headings, where it's white against that charcoal. But the text that the deputy superintendent was talking about, or deputy city manager was talking about, is just impossible to read out here. And I think this is the second time that I've attended a council meeting and there was a presentation that was like that is not readable out here to your audience. And I doubt that it's readable at home.
Want to put that sample back up again, and we'll take a look?
There, they can't read it.
White against the charcoal shows up, but the black against the charcoal does not show up.
Oh, it's like a gray.
That's the way the cable company wants it.
I'll make sure that I remind staff and myself, there are some things that we can do in terms of trying to change the format, but this is not how it shows up on TV, and so we do have some guidelines for staff when, in terms of size and color tones and all that, so we do try to stick to that.
Thank you, Mr. DeHart. Anyone else from the public who wishes to address us on this agendized item, whether you can see it or not? Seeing no one else approaching the microphone,
That's the least of our.
I'm going to return this to the council for further discussion. How would you like to discuss this some more?
I'd just like to move this item.
Second.
We have a motion by Montesino, a second by, I wasn't paying attention, a second by Hernandez. I was paying attention, I just wasn't listening. We've got a motion on the, how about discussion on the motion? Any of that?
I think that we're entering into a new day of being able to communicate in the way we do business. I think a lot of members of the public don't understand. It was hard to educate myself on bandwidth and the importance of having the fiber optic lines and accessibility and the way we do business as government. It's the charter agreements, because of the marketplace has changed with Charter and AT&T and whoever else can enter into the market. I think that what we're talking about here, to be clarified, is to be able to maintain the government function, the municipal government function at the level that it does. So I think that we've got a deadline of June 30th, 2014, and I think there's a lot of questions to be answered, and I know when we get to the next agenda item that we're going to have some more, or not the next one, the one after, but, there'll be more, be clearer. As a former member of the community television here in this county of Santa Cruz, we've seen the cable agreements and the PEG funding change over the last couple of years, and for the state to become involved in it and put a franchise on us really does hinder us. And it's a different day. So I've been supportive and have talked about it on several occasions, not during the course of the last year so much, but as the importance of bringing fiber optic line to this community. For those that aren't aware, the fiber optic quality, or the high fiber quality of fiber optics, comes from Silicon Valley into the Cruzio headquarters, which they help finance themselves. That quality of line does not reach to Monterey County, to Salinas area, for example. Does not come down through Gilroy, does not come down through Morgan Hill. It does come up the coast and into the Monterey Peninsula, because there's government institutions of a federal nature on the Monterey Peninsula. So that quality, that access to quality of line does not affect the Central Coast area, and I look forward to us pursuing other options in the future pertaining to that. So we can really talk about some serious economic development.
Thank you very much. Other discussion with the council level?
I'm just going to second that, saying that it'd be nice if in the future we can also have discussions with the county about T1 lines in the future in regards to economic development.
I guess we won't be going back to smoke signals or signal flags.
We might after 2014, June 30th, but.
It'll be here soon enough. I'm assuming the motion to approve included items E and F.
Take the motion?
Yes.
The package, the cable package. Further discussion? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Bielicic,
Yes.
Cervantes,
Yes.
Kaufman Gomez,
Yes.
Dodge,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Montesino,
Yes.
Hurst.
Yes, and so approved. Thank you very much. Very informative discussion about what we won't have. New business, item 8.1,
Consideration of financial management system purchase. We'll have staff report, council questions, public input, perhaps a motion. Staff report, please. Item 8.1.
Good evening, council members, members of the public. Tonight's agenda item, as you indicated, is a new financial system, and we're asking for appropriation to authorize funding for this project. So the recommendation is in front of you. We are asking for authorization of appropriation of $600,000 for the acquisition of a financial system. From a historical perspective, the current financial system was last implemented in 1996. It does offer some good features. It has some good reports, and it also has a lot of limitations on what they can provide. The input that you could place into the system, the reports that you can generate, and also the amount of work that is necessary sometimes to generate some of the reports. As I will say, this system is part of the past, and we need to move into the future to be able to have better reports on a more timely manner with less effort. So as an example, you can see this picture where time has passed and technology has evolved. You can see that probably our system will be the equivalent of the first picture on this slide, where the computers were large. You had seen those really huge computers that took over a room, and you had a small monitor connected to them. It's not quite that drastic, but this is just to draw a picture of where we are. Currently, what we have is people using smartphones and computers on their hands, right? And the technology that comes with that, we haven't been able to fully make full use of that in our financial system currently. That includes utility payment systems, that includes HR, general ledger, receivables, payables. So when we're talking about a financial system, we're not just talking about debits and credits, balance sheets, income statements. We're also talking about direct service to the community through utility accounts. So tonight's recommendation is not only something that the staff has come up with. It has come up through different recommendations from different sources. One of them is the grand jury audit report, which recommended this system. And actually, even before they came, the previous administrative services director, the city manager, the staff had recommended this change. And there had been some efforts to identify some funding in the past for this financial system. But unfortunately, this economy did not improve as fast as we would have liked. It's been over 5 years that the city has had financial challenges. And also the council, even though the council for the most part has been supportive of something of this magnitude, they have also seen the budget and the overall challenges, financial challenges of the city deteriorate. So there is a need to adapt, there's a need for change, but we have had some challenges financially. So the good news is that recently we received one-time funds, specifically on the general fund, due to a settlement of a lawsuit. And the city received approximately $365,000 in one-time funds. So part of the reason why this item is being forward right now is because we have received this one-time funding. Other funds that will also contribute to this endeavor have a better financial standing, and it is the belief that we will be able to put together a package of funding to be able to explore the market, see what systems are out there that will meet our requirements, and then be able to move forward with this project. So what are we going to be doing if this item is approved? The first step will be to develop the specifications for the system. What do we want the system to do for us? And how are we going to communicate this out there? We're going to issue an RFQ, request for qualifications, which is a modified approach. Instead of using an RFP, it's not as lengthy. We may be able to obtain results faster and be able to probably get a better price if we follow that type of process. So we're going to be working in the finance department along with all the different departments, trying to get their needs assessed for the financial system. As I indicated before, we will not only be looking at a strictly financial system, we will be looking at utilities, maybe recreation, maybe some of the older systems that we have, community development, and try to figure out what can we get in a whole package that interacts as a whole system and be able to get rid of some of the redundancies that we currently have. For example, in order to collect revenue right now, we have to have 3 systems. We have the enhanced system that keeps track of utilities. We have what they call a RAS system that records the revenue, and then it has an interface that goes to our GEMS financial system. So all of that is just created because we have antiquated or older systems, and if we were to obtain a new one, we would be able to actually just have all that in one system and get rid of 3 of them. So the benefit to that is that we will pay less on the ongoing annual maintenance fee costs. As you know, every time that you buy a financial system, you have to pay annual maintenance cost. And we believe that if we got one comprehensive system, we will be able to save on an annual basis, in addition to be able to get rid of some of the redundancies and eliminate those. So when will this happen? If this is approved tonight, it will take a month or 2 to be able to get through the process of analyzing all the different business processes that we have, the different departments' needs, and issue an RFQ. After that, we will have to put the RFQ on the market, see who is interested on offering a product to the city. There have been some companies that have approached me even since on the first day of employment here with the city. So we'll send a copy to them and anybody else that may be interested. And it is feasible that a couple of months after that, we will have a response and a solid pricing on how much it may cost. Even before approaching you today, I have talked to a couple of companies to give me an idea on how much it will cost to implement their products. And we believe that approximately $600,000 will be sufficient to fund a product that will include utilities, finance, payroll, HR, community development, and some other functions within the city. So how will this be funded? It will be funded with the general fund, with one-time funds as indicated before, enterprise funds, and the library fund. And right now, the resolution in front of you, it calls for equal shares, up to $600,000 for all the different funds. And depending on the actual modules that we implement, the percentage of funding may change because some of the different funds use less of a certain service. But for example, if we are getting a new utility service module in the new financial system, that most likely will be paid almost 100% by the utility funds because they will be the main beneficiaries of this module, and so on and so forth. So we'll just have to do a careful assessment of what the most critical needs are in the city, and after that we will be able to redefine what the actual funding will be. But right now we're proposing up to $100,000 from each of the different funds for appropriations. So with that, we are recommending that the council approve a resolution authorizing $600,000 for the acquisition of a financial system. And with that, that concludes my presentation. So you have any questions, and glad to answer them.
Let's take questions from the council first, then we'll go out to the public. Council members? Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
You've mentioned that there's going to be an annual savings for the consolidation of the systems. What kind of savings could that be?
A rough estimate is that we may save up to $50,000 per year.
So our investment, 10-year investment essentially, over the cost of savings from the consolidation. And the 365 is a one-time recovery. However, the resolution shows that we're still pulling it from each of the departments. Are we really is the 365 distributed out and then brought back in again, or can we take the 365 from this recovery as an option and less from each of the different appropriations for the different funds?
It is possible, but I'm not recommending this at this point because it is important to know that, as we have seen in different presentations, the fund balance for the city is not, comparatively speaking with other cities, not as healthy as we would like it to be. So you have to be prudent when you have one-time funds. You have to decide, okay, you could spend it for one-time expenditures right away, or you could set some aside, or there may be some other priorities within the city that or the one-time needs that the city may be looking into. And I believe that there are a couple of other alternatives that will be presented to the council, at least in the next couple of weeks, we hope, for the utilization of some of this money, not all of it, but some more of these one-time funds. So it'll be ideally we could use all of it, of course, but it's not always necessarily the best course of action.
Right. Well, and it's more logical from the proposal of this resolution over the one-time funds. But because it was thrown in there, I just wanted to make sure that we knew the difference on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bilicich.
You talked about utilizing the water fund, the sewer fund, solid waste fund, 100,000 from each, is what I understood. How does that relate to the increase that we just did with the public for the increase for pipes and all of that?
Okay, the increases that we have had on the utility funds have been specifically for service provision and also for the funding of capital projects.
Right.
And this is one of those capital projects that is included as part of that. So it wasn't specifically for one capital project, it's just the overall need for those different funds and citywide, specifically directly related to utilities.
What I recall is that when we talked about an increase, and we've talked about increase on the water and the garbage and sewage, what we told the public was one of the reasons we really needed to have this is because the infrastructure, all the pipes need to be replaced, and that the money was going to be used for that. So I have a little bit of a reservation of saying, okay, now we've got to put it into financial system. I understand what you're saying, but it's, people want to know. And the airport fund, how does that relate to this?
All the different funds within the city actually benefit from the system itself. And the airport is one of those funds that benefits from a financial system. Currently, that fund is the biggest user of the accounts receivable module because we have a relationship where we have a lot of accounts for sale of fuel, for example. And a customer will come into the airport and will fill up with their airplane with gas, and then they'll have an account open with the city. We will have to record that transaction into the system and then be able to bill them on a monthly basis for the charges into their account. So we have a multitude of number of accounts for the airport. So that's just an example. Another example is we also have employees in the airport that get paid out of the payroll system. So they'll have a direct benefit also from getting a new payroll system, HR system, general ledger. They also get reports on a monthly basis on their financials. So it's just a few examples of how the airport relates to this project.
How about the library fund?
It's a similar example where the library actually does have some receivables. They have some cash that they receive for certain transactions in the library. They have employees for payroll. They have also vendors that we have to pay on behalf of the library. So in general, all the different funds benefit from the implementation of a system. They are currently benefiting from the system that we have in place, and it'll be no different from a new system if we were to acquire one.
I just think the public doesn't think of it in those terms. I think they think of, we're going to use the water funds to, and people were upset about the increases, and I know that it went through, and we were low fees in comparison to other cities, but still, people believe that we're going to replace pipes. With the library fund, I think they think of books. We need books, we need whatever, technology, we need things in the library. So when we look at improving a payroll system or HR, even though they may all fit, I don't think that's how the public views the spending of the funds.
I would just make the point, if I could, that by far the great majority of funds for the utility fee increases will go for actual water pipes and sewer pipes and solid waste trucks. I mean, by far, same thing with the library, by far the great majority of those funds will be used for new books, new technology and so forth. This will actually not be a huge percentage. And if you look over the fact that we have a 16, 17-year-old system that we haven't spent, we should have been spending money every year updating, and so for 17, 18 years we've had the same system, those funds haven't had to pay it, and really one of the things that we really need to do is to get our accounting into better shape is to have a new financial system. And I think that is one of the important lessons that came out of the grand jury report, is that with an antiquated system, it's very difficult for staff, especially with our cutbacks, to maintain all of the proper reporting that's necessary.
Councilmember Dodge.
City Manager Palacios was correct in our financial system arrived before the arrival of the internet. Am I not correct?
1996, so most likely, yes. I don't remember specifically when the internet was introduced, but yes.
Yeah, it
I
was so
think
long-
I'll guess to say yes.
That's so long ago, Eduardo Montesino was still in high school at that time, I believe. But the $600,000 is the maximum, is really is what my question is. This is the maximum where, our resolution is looking at $600,000, so the figure could be quite lower, depending on.
The figure could be lower depending on the modules that we actually acquire and look at all the needs citywide. There are different estimates I have received, and I believe that 600,000 would be a safe figure to be able to cover all the costs for the implementation of that system.
I like that in the sense that, we need to be state of the, if we're talking about, a lot of the things we're talking about are infrastructure, whether it be the charter agreement we previously talked about or the fiber optic project we're talking about next. The financial system seems to go along with that to be able to keep our city current and up to date. Am I not correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
I think clay tablets was the real answer there. Abacus and clay tablets. Councilmember Gomez.
I'm just ready
Councilman Gomez.
I'm ready to go ahead and make them.
We have an opportunity for public input.
Get public.
Let's open this up for public input. Is there any public input on item on this agenda?
Yes, sir.
Please.
My name is Sarah Chevet. And the cost allocations for the new financial software appear to be 88% from enterprise funds and the library. Based on the overall budget, shouldn't the allocation be somewhat like 30% for the enterprise funds and the general fund 70%? Thinking citizens know that when costs rise in an enterprise fund, rates go up for all the citizens. It turns into a quasi-tax. This council approved the Airport Enterprise Budget Fund in June. That budget was balanced with minimal or no reserves. So where are we getting $100,000? Where's the line between financial manipulation and fast and loose budgeting? At the May budget hearing and workshops, the airport budget included a $4.7 million debt to the general fund. Now, here is the final 206-207 airport adjusted approved budget. It shows revenues of $4,371,451 and expenses of $2,200,275. This budget, approved by that city council, was $2.1 million in the black. Now, 6 years later, the Airport Enterprise Fund is $4.7 million in the red, according to the numbers we've been told. Let's not forget, from 1980 to December 2007, there is documented $4.2 million diversion of airport enterprise funds to the general fund. Because the statute of limitations, the FAA limited the amount that could be repaid to $1.6 million plus interest. The FAA used the years 2000 to 2006. With interest, the general fund owes the airport enterprise fund about $2.4 million. That needs to be credited or paid back. Council, don't be misled. Draw the line between financial management and fast and loose finagling. Does the council want to jump out of the financial frying pan and into the financial fire? Thank you.
And thank you for your comments. Anyone else from the public wish to address the council on this item before us? Seeing none, we'll return this to the council for further deliberation, discussion. Councilmember Bilicich.
Well, I have concerns about utilizing these enterprise funds or whatever the various funds are. But I also know that the financial system needs to be upgraded, And I know that there probably should be some funding from these groups, but not, I think it's too much money. The other concern I have is public safety. And we've talked and talked and talked about public safety and how we need police cars and how our police cars are inadequate right now. And we've talked about hiring more police officers and more firemen. And so we have this money, and for us not to put it into public safety. No, we keep saying, well, maybe we'll get a special tax for public safety, or maybe we'll get a bond for public safety. But we have some money right here that we could allocate to public safety and help address what the public really wants, the number one priority, their own safety. So it's hard for me to support a financial system, although I believe that we need it, when we're not addressing public safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other questions or comments from the council at this time?
I got a question real quick. So if we go through with the request, will it come back to us and we'll get to see what the proposals are?
Yes, this is just a step to be able to give us the authorization of have actually funding behind an RFQ. Once the RFQ is awarded, we'll bring it to the council for them to award it. So it will be something where we will go out, get the specifications, this is what we want, we believe it meets our needs, and then you'll have the ability to be able to say, this is what you authorized, and then at that point, we will have a very definitive answer on what the cost will be for each of the different funds, because we will know what all the different modules that we're getting, and also we will have a direct methodology for allocating those costs among the different funds. That will directly relate to either staff hours, FTEs, payroll checks, number of transactions, a defensible methodology that it is applied in the industry anywhere in the public sector or private sector.
So if we set it at 600, or let's say we lower it to like 550 or 500, I mean, is that going to affect what the proposals come back at?
If we
Want the lowest bidder, in essence, right?
If the funding is lower, then what the city is going to have to do is, instead of buying a more comprehensive system, we may just have to buy one or two components that are the most critical ones, and then continue to limp along with the older technology in other areas. So what that will do is to still create some of the redundancies that are still in place and some of the workarounds to make the systems stack to each other. But it is possible to be able to get something with a different dollar amount. What I'm proposing is a $600,000 amount to be able to include some of the most pressing needs I have explored in my 1 year and a few months with the city. Some of them include community development. I know that Parks and Recreation also has some needs with their system. I know the general ledger and financial system, human resources. Those are some of the items that will be included in an RFQ.
So is this also going to facilitate the online bill pay for all the departments too as well?
It will facilitate some of the 21st century technology that includes more customer service oriented systems where customers will be able to access more things online and communicate with us that way through this system.
More discussion from the council. Councilmember Montesino.
I'm ready to move.
The quiet one tonight.
I'm actually ready to move this item as is. I would like to move this item.
I take that as a motion by Montesino.
Second.
Second by Dodge. Now we can have discussion. Mayor Pro Tem?
Sure. I think I just had more of a comment, and the reason why the allocations are coming from these various funds, I think, is to, alleviate the general fund a little bit so that you're not impacting public safety, so that it's all not coming from the general fund, because the general fund is what provides the monies to maintain our public safety. Correct?
But that is correct, but it's also true that each of these funds, if they were a standalone business, would have to have an accounting system.
Correct.
So if it was the water company, they can't just not have an accounting system and say, we're just going to buy pipes, right? I mean, they have to have an accounting system, and they have to have an adequate one. And same with the airport. They have to have an accounting system. And so it's only fair that they participate in paying it. Right. Now, we have an appropriation level that will be further refined as we get closer to which modules we actually buy and which funds will actually benefit. But all of these funds do use payroll, they use accounts receivable, accounts payable, they all have an asset ledger, they all have the participating in the general ledger, they all have all of that. And so that it is important, and it is also important to note that the reason we do have a 17-year-old system is that there have always been higher priorities. It's always been a priority to buy a new police car or buy new equipment. I mean, that's...
Actually, it hasn't been a priority to buy a
It has
Not been.
No, it has
That's
been.
why we have inadequate police cars now. We don't have enough
It's
that
been, if I
Let's
could
have
just continue to
one
comment.
speaker at a time,
It has been a priority, and in fact, the reason that we have not had major layoffs in police or fire is that we have made maintaining public safety one of our highest priorities. The reason that we have higher ratios of police and public safety than Salinas is because, in fact, we have made it a priority, even though our revenues have been very low. And so there's always, there's always another priority, but at some point, we have to buy an adequate financial system to maintain our books. And it's sort of, damned if we do, damned if we don't. We get criticized by the grand jury for not having adequate reporting. We try and address that, and then we're criticized for spending it on, proposing to spend it. We have to buy an adequate system in order to give staff the tools they need to keep the adequate reports coming to the council and also to maintain the books in the way that we need to.
Welcome to the world of criticism. Councilmember Dodge.
I live there, Mr. Mayor, and so that being, I think, I'm going to reinitiate, I'm supportive of this motion because this is an infrastructure cost. 65% of our current budget goes to public safety, fire and police services. 63, am I correct?
Correct.
And we've had two grand jury reviews in 2 years, looking at our financial system, and I'd like to alleviate some of those concerns. I support what the city manager was referring to, is that each of these enterprise funds are making contribution into the overall system. And I think that's a less hit than it would be from going from our general fund. And I think they have to assume those kind of responsibilities. We hear from the airport on a regular basis from our airport manager that we make our money selling gas out there. We need to be able to document those type of things, pay our taxes adequately, et cetera, et cetera. So we've operated on the cheap for a long period of time. It's time for us to be the most progressive city in the county and go forward in updating our infrastructure however we need to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go forward. And let me just say, in light of some of the comments here, that financial literacy and accountability and financial prudency and solvency really is public safety. We can't have public safety without that. And so let's call for the roll call, please.
Ulysses?
I do think technology is important. However, I do not think that we can sacrifice public safety. Regardless of the budget, we do not have adequate public safety in our community. Ask the residents. So I will vote no at this time.
Cervantes?
Yes, and I do not think that we're compromising public safety.
Kaplan Gomez?
Yes.
Dodge?
Agreed. Agreed. Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Montesino?
Yes.
Hurst?
A simple yes from me. Thank you. Motion approved. We have one more item on our agenda tonight that I know of. Item 8.2, consideration of citywide fiber optic project Phase 1, project number ST-13-07, recommended by Public Works. We'll have staff report, an opportunity for council questions, an opportunity for public input, and then perhaps some council discussion leading to maybe action. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor Hurst and members of the City Council. Steve Palmisano with the Department of Public Works and Utilities. I have a brief presentation for you on the citywide fiber optic project, Phase 1. As you heard earlier this evening, our franchise agreement with Charter Communications is coming to an end June 30th, 2014, and in anticipation of that service ending, staff has been looking at options for the city to consider. The fiber optic system provided by Charter provides data and communication services at all of our city facilities and many other public facilities around the community. It provides us with internet access, data communication, security systems for all of our city facilities, video surveillance, cameras at various locations around the city, including city facilities and parks, for example. It allows us to control our gates and access around the city facilities, provides for wireless access for the public at city facilities, and one of the maybe less understood benefits of this is the wireless system used by our police department. There are various key locations around the city where the police can go and connect to their database and get secure information, file reports, and do a lot of their operational processes without having to go back to the police station, making their operations much more efficient and effective. So we looked at a couple of options, several options, and came down to two to present the council with. One is the city can choose to build its own fiber optic system in the city, or we could continue to utilize Charter's fiber optic system through a lease agreement. And in short, staff recommends investing in a citywide fiber optic system as the most cost-effective solution, and I'll tell you a little bit more about why. So the new project would basically run new fiber optic lines to critical city facilities throughout the community. And this map shows the work that would be done, and there's two different phases to the work. The first phase would include underground directional drilling, which is installing conduit underground to connect key locations, and that's indicated in the blue lines here. So some locations we need to install underground new conduits as the first step. The second piece of this work is to utilize existing conduits that were put in over the last several years. As part of any city utility or road repair project, we included additional conduits as in preparation for something like this. We didn't know exactly what we would need them for, but with the foresight of our former Public Works Director and staff, they started doing this over 10 years ago, and now we have come to the time where we actually are going to benefit tremendously from this foresight. And so the project before you, Phase 1, would be to drill the underground boring for those new locations and then upgrade the existing conduits. There's a lot of work on the boxes and the connecting points for those projects. And so that's what's proposed for you today, and it is estimated to cost about $300,000 for that. The next phase would begin in January 2014, where we would actually go ahead and install the fiber optic lines throughout the city to connect key locations to our IT main headquarters at City Hall, or actually at the police department building. And switching gears, wanted to tell you a little bit about the lease option that we looked into. There were two scenarios we ran. One was what we call a reduced level of service, and that would be the very bare minimum fiber optic service we would need to lease from Charter Communications to keep just our basic data services and connectivity between city facilities. And that would cost about $43,000 per year just for the bare minimum. Some of the reductions would include losing some of our security cameras around town at some of our parks and facilities. Those are very data intensive, and so we would have to lose some of those services. The current level of service is valued at about $150,000 per year, as you can see here, which over a 10-year period is a tremendous amount of money, $1.5 million, that we would be paying for this very same services. That would be provided by the construction project under your consideration tonight. So our own fiber optic system would be the most cost-effective solution, but in addition, it provides us a tangible, valuable infrastructure asset for our community that we would get to keep and utilize and develop further. And for example, one of the possibilities that we've been approached already by a number of different agencies and groups, is to lease the surplus fiber capacity that we would have as part of this project. So we would have everything we would need for our city requirements now and well into the future. And because we would put in, the size of fiber that would be have surplus capacity, we could lease it out to a number of agencies. Santa Cruz Metro is interested, Cruz.io is interested, even Salud para la Gente has indicated interest in participating in this. So that would actually provide additional revenue to the city. It would serve as potentially a new utility. So again, just to recap, the cost of the project, Phase 1, $300,000, Phase 2, $180,000, for a total of $480,000. And in the staff report, we do recommend using library fund and water enterprise fund as the initial appropriation source for this. But just as we're looking at with the a new accounting system, we would be coming back to you at the time of awarding this bid with a much more detailed financial plan, looking at each of the different departments throughout the city, who would benefit from this project and in what proportion. And so all of the city departments would pay into this, and all of the and we would figure out a fair and rational way to spread those costs among the various departments. So this is just a placeholder. We needed to get something as an appropriation to get the project rolling, and before we put it out to bid, and then we'll come back with more detailed financial planning as part of the award of the bid that you will be considering should you choose to approve this project. And the staff recommendation is to approve plans and specifications and call for bids for the project and authorize a budget appropriation for this project. That's, with that, I'd like to end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the staff report. Let's have questions from the council at this time. Councilmember Bilicich.
You indicated that the streets already would have places for conduit, but are we still going to be digging up other streets?
Actually,
some places or not?
Actually, the technique we are planning to use would be underground boring, which would not create tearing up of the streets. It would be, you go in at one location and you go underground. So there'd be a little pockets of disturbance, but not tearing up the entire street. And most of it will be hopefully out of the way of our streets.
And it won't be in streets that you're currently resurfacing?
No.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Councilmember Hernandez.
So would this optic line also be adequate enough for at some point to kind of, I guess, go public? Or like, let's say, for example, at some point the county gets a windfall of money and they can put optic line through their railway system and up to Watsonville. Would we be able to just hook it up at some point?
I do believe it would be a large enough bandwidth to access that kind of data transmission. I believe that's true, yes.
Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
Currently, we're getting 64 cents a subscriber from Charter and 5%. And with that money, is that going to our general fund, or is this going to something that could be set aside for this kind of project? I don't know if we're going to continue getting people that are subscribers of Charter with that revenue coming in. And would we have a source of any of that for this project?
That's a franchise fee that goes to the general fund.
So, and we're not looking at general fund for the expense of this, for the budget items right now. We're going to enterprise funds, basically, with the couple departments that you've mentioned.
For the initial financing, we will use the enterprise funds, but when we actually let the bid, we will allocate it to all the funds.
Okay.
Other questions? Councilmember Bilicich?
How much money is in the library enterprise fund? Well, I mean, we just spent 100,000, now we're looking at 240, just want to know.
The library fund has approximately $1 million in fund balance as of the end of the fiscal year, unaudited numbers.
And how about the water enterprise fund?
The water enterprise fund has approximately $5 million currently in fund balance.
And is that the one that's being used for the pipes? Is that the same funding source for the underground pipes?
For the underground pipes, I believe so,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions at this time?
I just got a question, and it's sort of a comment. So just want to clarify, we're still the lowest rate in countywide, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Can't get cheaper water than here.
Or better quality?
We don't collect that fee from the other providers like AT&T, the 64-cent service fee charge.
Or DirecTV or any of the rest?
No, we do collect it from AT&T. We do not collect it from the satellite.
Okay. And there's a declining sort of membership with Charter. I mean,
There is.
there is. My other question has to do with the lines that Charter has. I don't know if in the foreseeable future, if we decide to move forward with this, acquiring any of their lines that they already have in place, or we just, where this includes sort of a map of new lines that we would be putting in.
This would be all new lines that the city would own and operate. Charter, I don't think is interested in letting us have any of theirs.
Okay.
They want,
Yeah,
they would
right,
like
yeah.
to lease them.
That's kind of the game.
For the
Yeah.
very high price, yes.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions from the council at this time, let's go out for public input at this point. I'd like to have some public input on this item.
Randy Hart, community member, District 7. I don't really have a question about this project, but in the last two resolutions, resolution before this, and this resolution that's proposed, you're spending almost $1 million in enterprise funds. You know, this almost brings back memories of redevelopment funds. And a lot of projects we did with redevelopment funds, and a lot of cities did. And then Sacramento starts looking at how the money is spent, and is it really following the intent of the funds, and started to close down on redevelopment. When I see this much in enterprise funds being spent, I think we ask ourselves, and I've read that Sacramento is also concerned about the enterprise zones. So, you know, you don't want history to repeat itself.
Yes, let's don't confuse the enterprise funds with the enterprise zones, two distinct different things. But I'm sure the state is looking at all this and licking their chops and trying to find some way to sweep that money off the table. Anyone else from the public that wishes to address us at this time? On this item, this is the time. Seeing none, we'll turn this back to council for further discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Dodge.
I'd like to move staff's resolution approving plans and specifications calling for bids for citywide fiber optic Phase 1.
And I'll second it.
Motion by Dodge, second by Hernandez. Discussion, Councilmember Bilicich.
No, I was seconding the motion, but that's fine.
Oh.
Other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, let's move to a roll call vote, please.
Bilicich?
Yes.
Cervantes?
Yes.
Kaufman Gomez?
Yes.
Dodge?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Montesino?
Yes.
Hurst?
Yes, and so approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any emergency items added to the agenda?
No.
Informational items for reporting?
Can I ask for an item to be added to a future agenda?
You can ask.
I'd like to see the current petitions that are out in the community added to the agenda.
On what,
I think that's a
on what basis?
private enterprise that has taken place, if I can use that enterprise word.
I don't think it's a private enterprise. It has to do with the council.
It's community generated.
On that same token, I'd like to request something in the future, item for consideration, to get a report from the Watsonville Airport in the air show. What happened?
That is an enterprise item. So noted. Any further discussion, comments from council? Seeing none, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.